Hey, g'day guys, Daz here again. Now today I'm joined by my brother Rod, who last week flew back to Australia from the Philippines, and we've decided to make a joint video together on the couch here today, talking about 20 things that we really love about the Philippines. And just a little bit of background. So I first went to the Philippines almost 30 years ago, back in 1994. And I met my lovely wife back then, and we ended up getting engaged, getting married, and we've been together now for 29 years, and we have two grown-up daughters. And I've been back to the Philippines many times. Now, my brother Rod here is only become a recent convert to the Philippines, having gone over early this year. But Rod's actually been in the Philippines almost 5 months now, and he's also become married to a Filipina. So you've got someone that's been going there for almost 30 years and someone that's only been going there starting in 2023. And we've been talking about things that we really love about the Philippines, because it is a fantastic place. So we've made a list of 20 items that we're going to just quickly go through and tell you what we really love about the Philippines. So number one is Filipino food. What do you think of Filipino food, Rob?
There's a lot I do like about the Filipino food. Their main diet over there is actually rice, as you would know, and they also eat a lot of fish over there. But yes, I don't have any problems with the food over there. There's that many different names of food over there, I can never remember the name of them. But no, it's all good. It's all good food.
Yeah, so I've been eating Filipino food for a long time, as you can see. And I really love Filipino food, and I like the fact that although some Filipino food is kind of similar in taste, like they use a lot of soy sauce, garlic, ginger, and like green leafy vegetables and that, they have so many variations on it that although it's all kind of similar, it's all still very different at the same time. And the other thing about the Philippines food is that it includes food from other cultures. So there's like American style foods, there's Spanish style dishes, like they love spaghetti, they love hamburgers, they love hot dogs. Yeah. But they also love like stewed meats and
especially pork.
Spit roasted pork, lechon, which is pretty much their national dish. But there's so many tasty things to eat in the Philippines. And not just the savoury foods, but also their desserts are amazing. Rod was just telling me that he really loves leche flan.
Oh.
And that's my favourite too. I really love it. So for those who don't know, leche flan is kind of like a steamed or baked caramel custard, and it has like a caramel sauce over it. And it's to die for. It's fantastic. And they have so many fantastic desserts. One that I really love is turon. And turon is where they get a banana, they wrap it up in a spring roll wrapper, and then it's deep fried. And you cut through this flaky pastry, and inside is this beautiful like caramelized banana. And I usually have that served with some coconut ice cream that I make myself. And it's just fantastic dessert. It's just a taste of paradise and the tropics. So I really love my banana turon. Filipinos are very big on spring rolls, some containing meat, some just containing vegetables. You can also get spring rolls which haven't been cooked, and that's called lumpia, fresh lumpia. And that's a great option if you're a vegan or something like that. You can buy fresh lumpia without any meat in it. But the dishes are fantastic. I really love the beef caldereta. I'm really big on paksiw and sisig. There's just so many fantastic food things to choose from in the Philippines. I don't eat seafood at all, but there are so many dishes there which don't include seafood. Yeah, after a while in the Philippines, you might start craving some Western food or something like that. But I'm pretty good with the Filipino food for quite a while. The only thing you Westerners find a little bit strange is Filipinos eat rice for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and dessert.
That's correct.
If you take Filipinos out for a pizza, they're going to expect to have some rice with their pizza. As strange as that might seem to Westerners, they just have to have their rice, or they just don't feel fulfilled, and they will be hungry all day.
All day.
That's it. Now, the next thing we really love about the Philippines is the transport.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, getting around.
Absolutely fantastic.
So you've only recently discovered jeepneys and tricycles.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful lady that I'm married to, she's got 6 brothers and 4 sisters that all live in the Philippines, and 2 of her brothers are actually, 3 are actually tricycle drivers. And the transport, like for us to go from our place to the shopping centre, is 50 peso. Which is very cheap.
It's only about $1.20 Australian, and it's only about 90 cents US.
You know, so it's quick, it's fast. If you want them to wait for you, they will, at no extra charge. They'll just wait for you to do your shopping. They'll actually come in the store with you, load up the tricycle for you, make sure you're okay, and then head back home again. It's a good system they got there.
It's amazing. I don't know how they do it for the money, because I'm surprised it even covers the cost of their fuel.
Yeah.
And the jeepneys are amazing to look at.
They are, yes.
They are so iconically Filipino.
They are, you know, they're stainless steel, and they are so bright in colour, like in highly polished stainless steel. Been on them a few times, and I think it's great. They probably get about 25 people on the back of them. And it's a good way to get around, and it's very cheap.
It is. They're basically set up like troop carriers, where you have 2 rows of seats and people are facing each other. But they do a set run, and it's usually written on the vehicle, you know, which way they're going. But basically, if they're heading down a main road, you can jump on and off on that main road for just a few pesos, and
That's correct.
Very economical to get around. And because they're carrying, I think, 23, 25 people.
That's correct.
Including the driver and his offsider. They can still make money out of it, running these great big like troop carriers.
That's right.
But it doesn't cost the passengers money, you know, a lot of money to get on and off, and they're very convenient. You know, you may have to catch 2 or even 3 jeepneys to get exactly where you want to go, but it's very cost effective, and they're coming along regularly. You know,
very regularly.
In big cities, there's like nose to tail of jeepneys coming along.
You might wait 2 minutes at the most for one. And they're always there on time, and it's you don't actually give the money to the driver before you board. As he's driving along, people just hand the money down to him, and it's very quick, very quick.
And then there's also the tricycads, which is actually basically a bicycle with a sidecar built on for carrying a couple of passengers.
Yeah.
And I've had a bit of a mishap in one of them where I actually stepped into it and I fell through the floor.
Yeah.
The owner was quite forgiving. I sat down in the seat, and as he goes to take off and carry my bulk, he snapped the chain on his bicycle, and we flattened, and I also flattened his tyre.
Yes. Good combination though.
But great, fantastic, you know, fun getting around in the Philippines, and very, very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
Don't worry, I looked after the guy. I paid him for it. He didn't want me to, but I paid him for a chain, a new floor, and a new tyre, and he was very, very grateful. But just fantastic fun getting around in the Philippines. Now, number 3 is Filipino culture.
Oh, fantastic.
It is, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
There's so many things to really admire and love about the Filipino culture.
First thing I like about the Filipino people is that they're very, very nice people. It doesn't matter if you're from overseas or whatever, they will always say, "Good day, how are you?" Like, you know, and a lot of them do speak English. There's a lot that don't. They only speak Talaga where I live, but overall, the people there are just fantastic.
Yeah. You'll find also a lot of people do speak English, but they may be a bit shy.
Yes.
Or feel, I mean, it's quite sad, but they may feel they're not actually worthy to speak English to you, you know. But I find that most people, after a couple of drinks of Red Horse, speak beautiful English.
Yes. Yeah, Red Horse.
So,
that's beer, by the way.
Yeah, but the culture in the Philippines is it's a wonderful culture. It's very accepting, very giving, very family oriented.
Oh.
It's a beautiful culture, and the people there are just naturally happy, smiley, content people.
That's correct.
Pardon me.
Correct.
Even if their lot in life is not great, you'll still find big smiles on the faces of Filipinos. And there's a lot to admire and respect about that. But I find the culture very comfortable to live with and accepting, as Rod said, of other nationalities.
They actually call us foreigners when we're there, but that's not being disrespectful, because everywhere I go, because they know I'm from overseas, they always call me sir. And I try to say, no, I'm not sir, my name is Rod. Then I have to get my beautiful wife to explain to them that I don't like that word and just please call me Rod. And they accept that. You know, it's, I think the most outstanding thing I've seen whilst I've been there is you might have a family of, say, 7 or 8 children, which is the known thing over there. The most important thing for the parents is education for their children. They will actually go without food to make sure that their children get a very good education.
They'll make a lot of personal sacrifices to see that their kids do well.
And I've actually seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
they make sure that their kids get the opportunities that they didn't have.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But there again, at the end of the day, once they've done all their education, and that, you know, they're usually engineers or draftsmen or...
seamen.
Accountants is another big thing they do there, accountancy and all that. We just had a girl 2 doors down from me. She got the highest marks in the Philippines, and she's been offered a high job in America, because in accountancy. Yeah. And you know, she's only 21.
Yeah, I meet a lot of highly trained people when I'm in the Philippines. You know, if I ask somebody their profession, you quite often find out that they're a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist. They're a captain, of a ship. You know,
that's right.
And very well educated people, and not just like completing their course, but they excel in their course. They graduate and they come out of it, very well educated. Probably more so than most Australians I know.
Well, John next door to me, he's only 28, and would you believe he's a professor at 28 years of age?
Yeah.
You know, he's studied very hard. He's got where he wanted to now, and I take my hat off to him, I really do. But the Philippines is a big thing on education for their children over there, and I think it's wonderful. I really do. Yeah.
And this leads straight into our next item, number 4, is the Filipino people in general. So we've already touched upon part of that, but one of our 20 favourite things, and they're in no numerical order, but number 4, it could probably be number 1, is our love for the Filipino people. So it's been more than 30 years that I've known Filipinos, because what prompted me to go to the Philippines the first time was that I used to work for Australia Post in Melbourne, and I worked with quite a few Filipinos. And I found them to be very jolly, happy, excitable people who were great fun.
They are.
Great cooks. They used to say, "Oh, Darren, I'm going to bring you in some food tomorrow. I'm going to bring you in some lumpia.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you in some pancit noodles and that, you know." And I would sit and have lunch with them, and I thought, what a fantastic race of people.
They
so
are.
friendly.
They are.
But, you know, their personalities are infectious. You know, you can't help but have a laugh, feel good about yourself, and enjoy yourself when you're around Filipinos. Even their sense of humour, and that is quite, you know, it's very compatible.
Oh, yeah.
With Australian and Western culture. And as we were saying just before, so in the Philippines, we find this a bit unusual, because in the Philippines, if you're from overseas, they call you a foreigner.
That's correct.
A bit like also in the USA and that, I've heard of people being called aliens. Well, in Australia, it would be very offensive to call someone a foreigner or an alien, because to us that would be racist.
That's right.
But in the Philippines, it does not mean that at all. If they call you a foreigner, that's just simply their word for a person that was coming from overseas. That's all it means. Yeah. If someone calls you a foreigner in the Philippines, do not take offence, because it is not an offensive word. And as Rod was saying, that also over there, we always get called sir. You go into the shops and it's good morning, sir. You know, you go into the bank, good afternoon, sir. Now, for people from England and Australia and that, being called sir is nice, but it can also be a little bit insulting, because in our culture, you can only be a sir if you've been knighted by the Queen, or now it would be King Charles. So unless you've been knighted, you're not really a sir. So if someone calls you a sir in Australia, they may be trying to be polite, but they may also be having a bit of a go at you.
Yeah, that's right.
So when we hear us being called foreigners and they call us sir, although we should automatically accept that as being complimentary, to some Westerners, we might, it might come to us as a bit of a shock being called a foreigner and being called sir.
Well, it did with me in the beginning.
But once you realise that's just completely normal Filipino culture and that's how they address us, and you get into the swing of it, then it's fine. There's no trouble at all. So that takes a little bit of learning, because Rod said to me on the phone, he said, they're calling me a foreigner over here. And I said, don't be offended. If you were in Thailand and they call you a farang, that kind of means that, you're like a foreigner and we don't really like you, but we'll sort of tolerate you. It can be used in a negative term. But in the Philippines, if you're a foreigner, it's fine. It just simply means you're from overseas.
Yeah.
But I found Filipino people some of the warmest, friendliest, most generous people in the world. And I've forgotten what word it is. It's not mabuhay. I can't remember what word it is. But basically, when Filipinos greet each other, the word basically means, have you eaten yet?
That's correct.
That's the first thing they want to know is, have you eaten?
Yeah.
There's
always food on the table. Always.
Yep. And that's their first concern is, have you had something to eat? And if not, please come and eat. And I think that's a wonderful thing of the culture and the Filipino people. And just be careful, because once a Filipino starts feeding you and you start eating, it's hard to know where to stop, because as much as you can eat, they will keep bringing the food, and it's hard sometimes for Westerners to say no. I have eaten that much food sometimes, but I've almost had food up to the bottom of my neck.
They do a lot of fiestas over there, and about 3 weeks ago they done one down our street. So my beautiful wife and I decided to go out there, and had all these young children in wedding gowns and all that.
Amazing.
And it was fantastic. But then people saw myself there, and they'd say, come here, come here. So I'd go over and they say, come into our place, let us welcome you in. And they fed us. We went to 3 different houses that night. Yeah,
complete strangers.
Complete strangers.
So welcoming.
Did not know anybody, and they invite you in and you eat with them.
Yeah.
And I think, hey, you don't get that here in Australia at all.
No, you don't, no.
You know.
People here are very private, keep to themselves. And if you went for a walk down the street here in Australia, you'll be lucky if you see a single soul in the street.
That's correct.
Everybody's inside their houses, privately living their private lives.
Right, yeah.
Another thing is in the Philippines that I can't walk down the street without, a bunch of guys saying, hey, come over and have a drink with us.
That's right. Yeah.
And you're being offered beer and
that's right,
rum and, all sorts of different spirits and all that. And
because actually alcohol over there is very,
it is dirt cheap,
Very cheap.
The Filipinos give freely.
They do.
And they're very welcoming, and they want to make new friends, and you'll be treated really well.
Yeah. The thing I really like about the Philippines too is they're very family orientated. They always stick together. I must have something like 300 or 400 friends now that I never had before.
Yeah.
Some of them I haven't met, but a lot of them are actually now on my Facebook page and all that. But they are they're there to welcome you.
Yeah.
They're not there to hurt you or anything. And it's great. It's fantastic.
I think you'd find that'd be something wrong if you found yourself lonely and without friends in the Philippines, because it's a place where you will literally meet hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yes.
And as there's only 365 days in a year, and you're going to meet 500 people because of family and friends and second and third cousins and that, it's likely that you're going to be invited to a lot of parties.
Oh, I've been to heaps already.
I know, every time we go to the Philippines, we get invited to
christenings, birthday parties,
weddings, funerals, birthdays,
parties,
graduations, someone's circumcision, all sorts of things. and
yeah.
and they put on a really great spread.
Oh, they do.
And
They do.
very welcoming and good fun times.
Very good fun times.
And talking about Filipino people, the next one, number 5, is Filipino kids.
Yes, fantastic.
Now,
beautiful.
Filipino kids are probably, I mean, all kids of the world are beautiful, but probably Filipino kids are some of the cutest and most beautiful kids in the world.
Yeah.
I think it's partly because, firstly, they're very friendly, and secondly, because they're kind of small for their age, it kind of makes them even cuter and nicer.
It does, yeah.
And Filipino kids seem to stay longer. They stay kids longer.
They do, yes.
I mean, my wife used to play hide and seek and chase kids around the street when she was 20 years of age.
Yes, they love games.
They do, yeah. I'm not saying they take longer to grow up, but they stay kids a bit longer than, say, Western kids do.
Yeah.
And they can stay young looking for a very long time. Now, what I mean by that is when I visit my wife's town in Cebu, I'll be talking to some kids, and you might be talking to what you think is a 10-year-old kid, and then you find out that they're 13 or 14.
That's correct.
Or you might be talking to someone that you think is 12, and then you find out they're 16. And so Filipinos are smaller and younger looking for their age. And that makes their kids kind of like... so a 10-year-old can kind of look like a Western 6-year-old.
That's correct.
So they stay younger and cuter for longer, and they're very friendly. So when I walk down the street, I feel almost like the Pied Piper, because you walk down the street, and all these kids come up to you, and I'm high-fiving everybody. There's kids grabbing my hand and blessing me.
That's correct.
And they're inviting me to play basketball, and they follow you down the road.
That's a big thing over there is basketball.
Yeah.
I've got a young guy next to me. He's 17, and he's actually one of the best basketball players in the Philippines. Just amazing.
Yeah, they are great basketballers.
And
they really love their sport, and they're very good at it.
Oh yes.
They're some of the best basketballers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've been to a few basketball games, just local ones held, in the local suburbs and towns that day. And I'm just shocked by the skills that the Filipinos have in basketball.
They do.
But so the kids over there are great as well. Now, Australia, if you were to talk to someone's kid in the street here, they'd probably call the police to you.
That's correct.
You just can't do that. There's no interaction with kids. And that's what kind of makes Western society quite sad, is because in the Philippines there seems to be a lot more interaction with people.
Oh, there is.
Definitely. There's, you just meet so many people from either holding someone's baby up to sitting down and talking to Lola, the grandmother.
Yeah, that's right.
And, and everybody in between. And it's very hard over there to feel lonely. Sure, there are people who feel lonely, but like Australia is a place where it's kind of very quiet, can be very boring and very lonely. And a lot of Australians get depression, and we have a very high suicide rate.
That's right.
And I'm not saying there's no suicide or depression in the Philippines, but it's such a happy place.
It is.
And it's so involving and so welcoming in that it's very hard for you to kind of feel sad and depressed when you're in amongst so much excitement and love and fun. It's just very hard to sit around feeling depressed. So even when it comes to the kids, they want to talk to you, they want to shake your hand, they want to high five you, they want to follow you down the street and all that. It's just interaction with people over there that you just don't get.
You don't get that here.
You just don't get that in Western countries. Now, that leads on to the next one, number 6, something that I really like, is Pinoy pride. So it's proud Filipinos.
Yeah.
Now, Filipinos have this natural inbuilt pride, and why not? Because they have a lot to be proud about.
They have.
We've said they're great sports people.
They are.
And they live in a fantastic country. They've got a great culture. They have a very interesting history. And there's not very much, really, the Filipinos, could feel bad about.
No.
And they're very proud of their people. And their people are some of the most attractive women. They have, excellent singers, musicians.
They love karaoke.
Yep, great sports people, in certain categories, such as, for example, the basketball. and many other categories as well. But Filipinos are very proud of their people, they're proud of their country, and they're proud of their culture. And it's so infectious. I mean, Americans are patriotic, Australians are patriotic,
Yes.
but the Pinoy pride goes beyond being patriotic.
Yeah.
It's something you sort of feel in your heart. And even as an Australian, when I experience Pinoy pride, I feel proud of the Filipinos and for the Filipinos.
Yes.
It's infectious that you can't help but admire their pride.
Yeah.
And where some people in countries may be proud, but it's not a good type of proud, Filipino Pinoy pride is something that I think most people can get behind and see it as a good thing.
That's
I
right.
certainly do.
Well, it's like when my wife and myself, we go to the markets and all that. I've never known it, like you don't get that here in Australia. Everybody says hi if they can speak
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
or they bow their head a little bit, and it's always a nice big smile on, you know,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel good.
They're very inclusive.
Yeah,
You know,
just amazing.
We might stick out of place a little bit when we're walking down the street, but people are not treating us as if we're not welcome.
No,
People are not ignoring us.
No,
They're
not at
very
all.
welcoming and very inclusive.
That's right. Yes.
And they're happy to bring you into the fold,
That's correct.
into the circle of friends and family,
Yes,
and you'll
definitely.
certainly be made to feel welcome. That's what
Yeah.
I love about it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Now, the
It
next
is.
one, number 7, is resilience. And I guess this sort of goes hand in hand with Pinoy pride. But Filipinos and Filipinas are some of the most resilient people I've ever met. And when I say resilient, although the Philippines is fantastic, it does have a lot of problems. It has natural disasters,
It does.
such as earthquakes. You experienced an
I
earthquake.
experienced an earthquake 2 weeks ago. We're sitting having breakfast one morning about 10:30, and the chairs started to rat and roll. When I said to my beautiful wife, "What's that?" She says, "It's an earthquake." I said, "Quick, get out the house." It was a 6.2,
Wow.
but luckily there was no aftershock, so everything was all right. But I'll say one thing: all our mobile phones went off, and the warning come out that it was actually an earthquake, which I thought was brilliant. And that was within 30
SMS
seconds
alerts, yeah.
as it happened. So that's good.
Yeah, for Aussies, we pretty much don't experience earthquakes.
No.
I think there was a 3 on the Richter scale down in Melbourne just recently.
Well, they had that one in Newcastle.
Well, we
too.
did. That was, what, 20-something years ago?
Yes, they did.
Or 20 years ago. That was huge.
It
But,
was.
that's the only one, and we never experienced
No,
that.
no.
I've never felt an earthquake.
No.
But, our dad was living in the Philippines also for 3.5 years, and in Kaka, Cebu, he experienced an 8.2, or it might even been an 8.4 earthquake.
Yep.
He was sitting in a rocking chair, and it was so violent that it threw him out of his rocking chair across the room.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Shane, an Australian guy who was upstairs in a 2-storey house, he was looking in the mirror having a shave when the earthquake hit. And he said the floor rippled. He said, I can't explain it, but as I was having a shave, he looked down, and it was kind of like the floor dropped away, rose up, dropped away, rippled, and then rose up again.
Yeah.
And he said, until you experience something like that, he said it is the most awful feeling that
It
he
is.
couldn't explain.
It is.
But the Philippines also has, regularly has typhoons and super typhoons. They have mudslides. They have floods. And all sorts of natural disasters. And it's a shame because the Philippines is one of the most beautiful, has natural beauty
It's absolutely
countries,
fantastic.
but they do have a lot of natural disasters. And for most Filipinos, they don't have insurance.
No. They don't have health insurance.
Yeah, a typhoon could blow your house away or at least blow the roof off it.
Yeah.
An earthquake could bring your house tumbling down. These people don't have insurance, and they don't even have any, spare money or savings
No.
usually. So to lose everything in an instant and have no way to be able to get back on your feet except for hard work.
That's right.
The Filipinos take it all in their stride.
They do, yes.
Still wear a big smile on their face,
Yes.
and they come out of it. It's like falling into a pigsty and getting out smelling like a bunch of
Roses.
flowers, roses. they're just great people like that. And Filipinos live on every continent on the earth. They live everywhere from Antarctica up to Greenland. And they live in deserts. They live in ice and snow.
Yeah, well, my beautiful wife has just come back from Saudi Arabia, and she was there for 6 years, and she's just had enough over there.
In temperatures like 46 and 48 degrees.
And her daughter's
Celsius.
actually over in Dubai working, and we always keep in contact with her by WhatsApp or Messenger, and hopefully this year she'll be coming home. So, and also about 4 hours drive from where I live, there's actually a volcano which erupted a couple of weeks ago, and they actually had to evacuate 20,000 people.
Yep.
But I've heard no more about it, so,
Yeah.
you know,
I think it's gone quiet again for a little
things
while.
happen anywhere in the world.
But when it comes to disasters and things not panning out, things going wrong, Filipinos seem to be able to take it on the chin with grace and come back. They're very resilient people.
They are, very.
And that's a great strength that Filipinos have.
They do.
Now, the next one is number 8 is fun. Now, I find the Philippines a very fun country.
Yes, I do.
We've touched on some of these things already, but there was an advertising campaign a few years ago before COVID. It's more fun in the Philippines.
Yes, yes.
And I totally agree with that. They couldn't have come out probably with a better campaign than that, because I find the Philippines an incredibly fun place. In fact, almost all the time that I'm there on the ground in the Philippines, as soon as that plane door opens and you get out,
it's a different world.
It's a completely different world, and I get so excited that my stomach always feels like churned up and butterflies. It's just total excitement all the time I'm there in the Philippines. And although I eat really well, and I eat a lot of food in the Philippines, I've always come back losing weight. And it's because my metabolism speeds up from all the excitement.
That's right, yeah.
It's just so exciting. My metabolism speeds right up, and I can eat so much food and still lose 1 or 2 kilos a week while I'm over there. And it's just simple things like, I'm not saying that we should have this in Australia or anything like that, but I mean, like just getting around. So seatbelts are kind of like optional.
Yes.
Yeah. You'll see a little pickup truck, and there'll be 12 people sat in the back tray of a pickup truck going down the road.
Yes. Yeah.
They'll have a tricycle with about 8 people
hanging off
the runner boards and things like that. Yeah. It just seems to be a sense of fun and freedom.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It feels like someone's cut the ball and chain off your foot, and it's kind of like almost like a free-for-all where a lot of the restrictions that we have, in Western countries don't apply. I mean, can you imagine this? Now, could you imagine in Australia getting some chairs and putting them out the front of your house out in the middle of the road and setting up a card table and all sitting around drinking rum and beer?
No, they don't do that here.
I mean, could you imagine it? And there's cars weaving in and out between people sat out in the middle of the road having a drink and a smoke, and there's kids running around, till 10 o'clock at night. There's dogs and cats running around everywhere.
Right, yes.
And these are not negative things. It's just so much. It's such a different world. It's actually fun.
It is fun.
Just to experience all this. I mean. Can you imagine our parking inspectors and traffic cops and that over here, if they saw the sights you see in the Philippines, they would have a mental breakdown, I reckon. But there's a sense of fun and adventure that you just don't get in Western countries. Yeah. Now, it's not all good, but it is all fun.
It is fun, yes.
I just find it so much fun. There's so many things that you can do. I mean, could you imagine in Australia also taking your barbecue out in your front yard, setting up, and cooking, cooking all this food and having your neighbours coming over and buying food from your front yard? And I mean, it just doesn't exist.
It does in the Philippines.
It does, and it's a great thing.
And it's a great thing, you get to smell all the different spices and all that, and, on especially with kebabs and all that. It's fantastic.
You could get home at 8:30 at night and just walk outside, and you can buy some pork barbecue sticks from over here.
Right.
You can buy some barbecue banana cubes, some barbecued sticky toffee bananas over here, and you can buy some fresh bread rolls over there.
That's right.
Some pandesal, and it's incredible, and it's just such a different world. We really love it, and it really comes down to what it is. It's just fun. It is fun.
The thing I also like over there is what they call a rolling store. Now you have one that does fruit and vegetables. You have another one that is like the butcher, and 4 o'clock every day you hear a beep 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 inside hot bread man with beautiful crusty hot bread rolls with a bit of cheese in them, and they are fantastic. You know, and you get
they're for nothing. They cost peanuts.
30 peso for 6.
Wow.
You
It's
know,
not even a dollar.
It's not even
Not even an Australian dollar.
They're hot, so I take them home quickly, get the butter out and put the butter on there. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know? And you have the fishmonger come round, and you have another lady who comes to our place with fresh eggs. And the eggs over there, they are humongous. They're like a blinking ostrich there.
And they have this beautiful orange yolk inside. Our ones have a yellow yolk, but theirs is orange.
Orange, and usually 9 times out of 10, they're double yolk.
Double yolk, yeah.
You know, for making cakes and that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
And when I have fried eggs over there, they're beautiful. They're just,
yes.
you know, or you know, whatever egg you have over there, it's just really good quality eggs.
It's good quality eggs.
It's really good, isn't it?
You know, so.
So number 9, next category is, and we've touched on this already, but respect for foreigners.
Yes.
So when we first hear, you know, that we're being called foreigners over there, at first, if you're not used to the culture, you might think, okay, that's not really good. But I find that foreigners get treated really well.
Oh, they do.
Filipinos treat foreigners very well. In fact, I would almost say that they probably almost treat us better than they treat their own people.
They do.
It's like a racism that kind of works in your favour, because in many cases they'll actually treat foreigners better than they treat their own locals.
I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
I see it firsthand every day if we go shopping and that. You know, they have security guards in every store in the Philippines. And as soon as they see someone like me come along, they come out, morning or afternoon, sir, and they hold the door open for you.
Yeah, they're less likely to give you a pat down or
and they just let us go straight.
You just breeze through security because they know I'm not saying we're less likely to commit a crime or anything bad like that. You know, but they just treat you with respect.
Prime example, last week we went into what they call a BTO, which is a bank which I use over there because I'm with Westpac.
BDO.
Or BDO, sorry.
Yeah, Banco de
And there must have been at least 20 people at the ATMs outside. And as soon as this security guard saw me, because I know there's 2 ATMs inside, ushered me in, come on in, sir. And they had a sign up on the ATM, not working. You took the sign away, there you go, sir. I didn't have to wait.
Yeah.
But that's how they look after foreigners over there.
So that would probably be seen as queue jumping in Australia, but in the Philippines,
it's all about respect.
They left the people in the queue to do their own thing outside, but you were ushered inside.
That's right.
To get quick service.
That's exactly right. But that's how they are.
I've experienced things like that as well.
You know,
I mean, we don't want to be pushing in front of the Filipinos.
No.
We're, you know, if you're a Westerner like from England or Australia, we're used to queuing up and we're used to waiting, and we have no problem with that as well. But you do get treated well.
Yeah, I find that a lot over there. They treat us very well with respect.
Yeah.
But also, I do the same thing with them also. You know,
it's mutual.
It's mutual. You know, so
Yeah, so I've never had an ounce of trouble with any Filipino in almost 30 years of going over there. I've always been treated very well. No one's ever tried to rip me off. I've never run into any crime or anything over there, you know. Almost treated like a rock star or a celebrity everywhere you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Just simply for being a foreigner from overseas. Yeah. So I find that Filipinos are very respectful of foreigners. We don't even ask for it, but it's automatically given,
it's given.
And we're very thankful for that.
We are.
Because I think it's a great thing.
Yes.
Now, number 10, this is one of my favourite things because I'm the king of cheap airfares.
Yes.
I'm great at finding a bargain flight.
He's very good, believe me.
So, what I love about the Philippines is it has cheap flights. And not only internally, domestically, inside the Philippines, but also to and from the Philippines.
That's right.
You can get to the Philippines cheaply, you can travel within the Philippines for
Very
cheap,
cheap.
and you can fly to other countries from the Philippines for a
That's right.
cheap price.
Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Hong
Yeah,
Kong.
and that's what else I love is the geographical location of the Philippines, where it's kind of central in the world, and from there you can get across to Hawaii in America, you can get to Asia. If you're coming from Australia, Manila is a great place to go to if you wanted to get to America, Europe,
That's right.
other places.
Yeah.
Now a lot of Filipino airlines, there's only like Cebu Pacific I love, and there's also Philippine Airlines. Now, they always have these promo fares and promo sales. And if you're a little bit flexible with your dates and you're good at checking online and taking advantage of the promo sales, you can travel within the Philippines for peanuts. And even when the fares are not on sale, they're still quite cheap and affordable.
They are, yes.
I think the most I've ever paid to get from Manila down to Cebu was about $40.
Yes.
Australian, so around $30 US.
And it's a 2-hour flight.
Well, hour and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
When I've gone from Cebu up to Boracay, or Kalibo used to be the old airport for going to Boracay, I think the most I ever paid was about 20 Australian dollars. And I've had flights from Cebu to Boracay for as cheap as $9, $10, $11.
Yeah.
And we've done that. We've been to Boracay, I think, 3 times now. And we've been to Davao down in Mindanao in the southern Philippines. I mean, that cost us like $20 or $30.
Yeah.
Internally, it's very cheap to fly in the Philippines. And if you don't want to fly, or you got a bit of time on your hands, you can also travel by ship.
Yes,
that's
very cheap.
You can do like a 24-hour sea trip from Manila down to Cebu.
Yeah.
And so Rod's actually based near Batangas City, which is south of Manila,
Yes.
and I'm actually based in Talisay, Cebu, which is about 10, 12 kilometres southwest of Cebu City.
Yeah.
So Rod and I, our places are like, about 800 kilometres apart.
Yes, which isn't far over there anyway.
Not really, no. It's like just like going from Brisbane to Sydney.
That's correct, yes.
Or Sydney to Melbourne. And but it doesn't cost much to travel around the Philippines.
No.
And when you're in the Philippines, you can take in other destinations. So when we go to the Philippines, we often take in somewhere else, such as we may go to Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. We've been to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, Vietnam. We take in Hong Kong. You could take in Taipei, Tokyo, Seoul. There's so many different places and so many ways to get to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost very much money. So when we've been to the Philippines before, we've popped across to Kuala Lumpur and Penang. I think that cost us only about $100 return from Manila to go to Kuala Lumpur and then across to Penang with AirAsia.
Yeah.
I've gone from instead of going from Singapore to Cebu, I've gone Singapore, Ho Chi Minh City, and then across to Cebu. And it's only cost me $30 or $40 extra to take in Vietnam while I'm going from Singapore across to Cebu. It's just so cheap. Air travel is incredibly cheap. I've never had a single problem. I've never had a delayed or cancelled flight, never lost any baggage. The planes have always been, safe and reliable.
Yes. Yeah.
It's always been a positive experience, and I must have internally in the Philippines probably caught at least 30 or 40 domestic flights and probably 20 or 30 international flights, and I've never had a problem.